I mean, I listened to Jack Howes enough to know that there was always some way to go soul winning. And I get some of the most silly responses.
The elevator where you wind up going up and down.
Huh?
You're on the elevator where you wind up going
Yeah. So we'd always say something, and that person is so confused. What are you talking about? And so we tend to think that we have to say something or we haven't done our part, as if we are responsible to get somebody saved. Our response, Christ tells us to live a holy and a godly life. Does that mean we should not talk to someone about Christ? Of course not. We should. But I do think that when you walk up to somebody you've never seen before and you're going to pin them against the wall to see if you can't get them saved is the wrong way to go about it. And I think that's what Livingston did. He lived such a life that it influenced Stanley enough that when Livingston said he's a Christian, he says, I think that's, and God used that seed plant. God uses the seed of our praying. God uses the seed of our talking and living the Christian life as a seed to plant in a person's heart so that when Christ multiplies that seed, then they come to know Christ as our Savior. God doesn't save a person outside His means whereby a person becomes a Christian. Without the preaching of the gospel, no one can be saved. In almost certainly Daniel's case, that's what had happened. I don't know that Daniel ever went in Nebuchadnezzar. You can go to hell if you don't get saved. I don't think that had gone over very well with him.
Off with his head.
Off with your head. What happened to most of the prophets when Jeremiah went in and told the king what was going to happen to him? What did the king do to Jeremiah? Threw him in the dungeon. Jeremiah just didn't know when to keep his mouth shut. He kept on doing it. I mean, you can't do a whole lot if you're in the dungeon. So Daniel could not be an influence if he kept getting himself thrown in the dungeon. So I don't think he did.
John the Baptist went out the wrong way.
Probably.
Remember why he was condemned? It's because he told the king it was illegal to live with you.
That wasn't very politically correct.
That way.
Well, I mean, if he's unsaved, what makes a difference?
Yeah.
Whether you go that way or not.
We tried to put in our Christianity to unsaved people, and they're just not what unsaved people do. Sin.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any difference for them.
Notice verse 9, the reading of the dream. That Daniel comes in, and he comes in the moment to solve the problem. Oh, verse 9, you want to read that? What is your name, ma'am? Oh, Kendra? Yeah, sorry.
O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee, tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof.
Notice it's master of the magicians. That word, probably translated in the broadest way, means scholar. It embodies both the mystic thing and education and culture and science and wisdom and all that. In fact, Daniel literally became a byword for knowledge and a byword for wisdom before it was all ended. Notice Ezekiel 28:3. Ezekiel 28:3. Here's what Ezekiel said about Daniel. Ezekiel 28:3. Notice what Ezekiel said about Daniel. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. And that statement is made to the prince of Tyre. And behind the prince of Tyre is Satan. For a man, Daniel, had incredible knowledge and wisdom. The only person that Ezekiel thought was wiser than Daniel was Satan. Satan is extremely smart. So was Daniel. So Daniel was as well. And so he came in, and he not only had that, but he said that, because I know that the Spirit of the Holy God is in thee. You not only have all the education, you not only have all of the intellectual capacity, but you have something even greater than that. You have the Spirit of God in you. And no secret, what? Verse 9. Troubleth you.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I know that there is no secret that's a problem to you. Wouldn't it be nice if we as pastors and teachers had the confidence that, people, when I was in the lady, people would always come to me and ask me a question. And they'd always assume because I was a preacher, that I would have the answer. You had that. They think because you're a preacher, some of them think you have the answer. The only people that know you don't have the answer is your own few members of the church. They're smarter than people outside the church. Now look at the dream, verse 10, Charity.
Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth.
Tree in the midst of the garden, right? Okay.
And the height thereof was great.
Verse 11 to 12. 11 to 12.
The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it.
Now, here's a tree that rises out of the earth in a private manner, extends into the heaven. Glorious so that the whole earth can see it. It's so tall. And all of the beasts gather under its shadow, and all the birds land in it, and they provide food, and the whole earth can eat of its provision. That's what he saw in the dream. Now, that word trees, it's used frequently in Scripture in ancient time to symbolize great rulers. Because I was asking myself, how does everybody know what a tree is? Does Scriptures give us an insight as to what tree is symbolizing? Well, Ezekiel 17:22, Ezekiel 31:3, and Amos 2:9 gives us an indication that when it uses trees, it is a symbol for great rulers. Now, the tree seems to be Nebuchadnezzar, and this was some dream. A beautiful tree, a productive, fruitful, flourishing tree, and the whole world was enjoying its abundance, and it was feeding and providing for the world. Could that possibly show us this first world ruler in Nebuchadnezzar who was providing for the whole world, known world? Notice it says, and I saw a vision upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and a holy one come down from heaven. Now, Nebuchadnezzar, now that's the word watcher is a word for angel. That's the word for angel. One who is vigilant. It means a watchful one, a vigilant one, a guardian, which of course is an angel. And he sees this angelical being and then the Holy One, as the Holy One, a watcher and the Holy One. Now, no two words could be better describe the angel than vigilant, and they are guardians, and they are holy. Now, so he sees the angel, and he comes down from heaven, and he cries aloud. What? What's verse? Is that verse 14? Pauline, verse 14.
He cried aloud and said, Thus, hew down the tree, and cut off the branches, shake off his leaves, and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches.
In other words, the whole deal is coming crashing down. That's the devastation and the destruction of the tree. But look here, it's fascinating in verse 15, Richard. Notice verse 15. Everything's going to come crashing down, but look at verse 15. Nevertheless, go ahead.
The stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, and to the grass of the field, let it be wet with the dew of heaven, let his portion be beast and the grass of the earth.
You're going to read that again. Read it. Now read it again and listen to what Richard's saying.
Nevertheless, let the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, and to the grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts and the grass of the earth.
I think what happened here is around this stump, the tree falls, but the stump is left. Okay? Around the stump is placed a fence in the tender grass of the field. And let it be wet with dew. And what happens is the fence was put around it. And leave it, and it's around this fence is the stump. And around the fence and where the stump is, there's a lot of grass in the fields. And notice an amazing thing happened. And let his portion be. Right? So, let his portion be. Where does that come from? I've never heard a tree called him. Let his portion be. And now we're sneaking up on the interpretation of what the tree is. Now we know that the tree is a man, because now the tree is not a tree but a he. The stump becomes a he. So the stump is a he. And let it be wet with dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast in the grass of the earth. Now we know that the tree is a man, and we have come to a significant change. That man, let his portion. So we come to him and his, and now we're beginning to catch the interpretation. The tree is destroyed, chopped down. The whole thing comes crashing to a halt, but the stump is left, and the stump is alive. And the roots are alive, and a fence is around it, so nobody can harm it, and it is protected. Now remember that thought. Verse 16. Jimmy?
Yeah, okay. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him.
Let his heart, let whose heart?
Nebuchadnezzar.
Well, the tree that fell down, and now it's a stump. The stump is a man. He's surrounded in a fence with all kinds of grass, and the dew is on the grass. And it says, let his heart be changed from man. Notice verse 16. And let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. Right? You see it?
Yep.
Now, the tree is a man, and the man is to give up his man's heart. Now watch it. And what kind of heart does he get? A beast heart. And it was to be 7 times that he is going to endure it. 7 times meaning 1, so that'd be what, 7 years. So you say, what are 7 years? Well, I'll give you the answer to it. Daniel 7 verse 25, because there it says that the end of the tribulation, a half year, will be, watch it, a time and what? A half a time. A time equals what? 1 year. So 7 years, this individual is to be there, his kingdom cut off, the roots are still alive, and he's protected. Let his heart be changed, right?